made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 351 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Travis Corcoran, and if you want to hear how to restore reason and knowledge and understanding to chiropractic, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is episode 351. Really excited for this. Good friend of mine, Travis Corcoran, coming in from Eindhoven, the NL, which if you guys don't know what that is, that's the Netherlands. And this is a shirt that he gave me representing his brand Topcairo, which is a chiropractic group that he has started over in the Netherlands. And my co-host, Luke Millette, coming in from the great city up in Michigan, Ann Arbor, and I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado. And before we jump into this episode, I just set the why we do what we do rules. And we do support subluxation-based chiropractors and the lexicon of innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We think that's really important. We do protect free speech in chiropractic. Very, very vital to the profession of chiropractic. And we do protect the sacred trust. And if you guys don't know what that stuff is, go find out about it. So with that being said, Dr. Travis, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Good to see you too, Luke, man. Really good to see you guys.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. And I think that, having some laughter is important. And that's how we open up our episode, as we were just off of a chat with each other. And I can't help myself but to try to make Travis laugh every chance I get. So
it's not hard for you to do, Jim.
So before we get into this episode, I know that there's you wrote a book recently, so let's just tell people where they can find the book preemptively before we go into your chiropractic story.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Thanks for supporting it too. The book is called Restoring Reason, Using the Ancient Liberal Arts to Defend Yourself from Modern Manipulation. And you can find the book at the website www.restoringreason.com. And also, if maybe you're hesitant to buy the book or you don't know what it's about, there's an opportunity on that website too where you can download the introductory chapter, the whole first chapter, for free, get a feel for it and what the whole book's going to talk about. You can also, if you want to get in contact with me too, the best way is through that website, restoringreason.com.
Cool. Well, now that we've plugged the book, let's talk chiropractic.
Right.
I know that you also mentioned that only a small bit of the book actually is a chiropractic passage in there, but people appreciate that.
Yeah, it's Jim, you've probably heard this from some other people, but Sean Dill, Martin Harvey, Keith Wassong, another great one, where so many of us were so passionate about chiropractic, we jump right into it, and it's like watering a plant with a fire hose that it can kind of push some people off, So what Keith Wassong does, I love how he says, hey, what do you do for a living? And you say, well, I help restore function so people can live their best optimal life and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't mention chiropractic. But it intrigues them. Like, oh, wait a minute. How do you do that? Well, you know how the nervous system, this, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, I do this and that. And you can pretty much sell it. And then the last word is, yeah, I'm a chiropractor. And then they go, wait a minute, that's what chiropractic is? Or is that what a chiropractor does? He's like, yeah. But when you start with chiropractic or the word chiropractor, then everyone's mind's filled with all the assumptions, everything they heard, the decisions they've already made in their mind. And so with this book, since we're keeping it on chiropractic, the whole book is really about those first three liberal arts, knowledge, understanding, wisdom. And so I'm talking about how important it is to be logical and reasonable, how reason and logic add value to your life, and give examples and where it's being destroyed and how it's being tricked or manipulated. And then once I've established that, I talk about four different areas of your life where you'll see the where the quality increases. One of those 4 areas is health. And so I couldn't help but mention chiropractic. And when I did so, there's already this whole I think it's like on page 125 of 175 pages. And it's only like 2 small paragraphs and the word is mentioned 2 or 3 times. But the curious thing that happened, I think I told you this when we met in Vegas, which was a great time, by the way, that the editor, the 2 proofreaders, 2 marketers, and who was the other one? One of the publishers. All 6 of these people, when they read the book, they're like, man, we loved it. This is what the world needs right now, and blah, blah. But the weird thing was, I didn't know that's what chiropractic was. Or I never went to a chiropractor, but now I think I'm going there. In some way or manner, all 6 of them are now intrigued about chiropractic, which I was really happy about, although I was like, yeah, what about all the other stuff though? But for some reason, they really picked up on that chiropractic thing. And that made me really happy about the book.
Well, Travis, I think this is a real truth is people read a lot of books, but they don't unpack what's inside the books and actually take action on it. So I think that's something that's really cool to hear. And you made me think that when people tell the chiropractic story to people, they tell it with a lot of feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that if they went reverse engineered the whole thing and they told it with more facts and then got into feeling, they would probably have a better chance of actually getting into the toughest 6 inches to penetrate, which is the temples between somebody's gray matter. And they'd be able to get in there and, inspire somebody rather than trying to break their narrative.
Yeah. Man, the way you're saying that, Jim, is so like you're crazy passionate about chiropractic. Me too, right? But it didn't start with passion. It started because it appealed to my sense of reason. Once I understood chiropractic, then I was like, wow, I'm really like my passion grew. I was like, this is brilliant. Once I saw the genius of it, how eloquent and concise this healthcare profession was, then my passion grew. And what I see is this is a lot of chiropractors, the same thing. Either they really understood it or they got great results and then became passionate about it. But how they're trying to deliver it is from a place that they arrived at instead of like remembering how they got into it, like, yeah, I'm crazy passionate. So I'm going to scream and shout in everyone's face about how awesome it is. When instead you can just explain it and talk about your results. If you don't want to appeal to logic and reason, talk about your results or your experience, but don't just jump into the like power that made the body heal the body kind of stuff,
And on the topic of passion, what exactly was the tipping point that first got you interested in becoming a chiropractor? How did that start?
For me, I was like, Luke, that's a good question because I was like the ultimate jerk of a patient or client, I would say. I hurt my back at work, like doing something ridiculous. And the low back pain was so bad, I was like buckled over in pain, could barely breathe. And some guy's like, hey, we're going to take you to the chiropractor. And in America, there's like workers' comp. You have that stuff. We don't really have much of that in Europe. But so we just basically dumb luck and went down to the yellow pages like, okay, here's a chiropractor. That's back before like internet was hot, Yellow pages. We went to a chiropractor and she was like a fresh graduate. I mean, like 1 year probably or something out of Palmer. And so her practice was pretty slow. She didn't have you guys doing marketing for them. And so I go in there and I got to watch this video on what chiropractic is before my intake. And it was kind of like an old school, like thing, regardless. She started explaining it to me and asking me about my background. So, well, my degree's in philosophy and minor in biology, blah, 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 this and that. She's like, oh, I took a lot of philosophy classes. And I'm, oh, really? So I'm intrigued. And she's young and pretty. That helps, And so I'm like, I'm now, and she takes philosophy. Great. Then when she starts telling me about the philosophy classes, like, what do you mean? Chiropractic philosophy? What the hell is it? What is this? It's not real philosophy. Like I said, I was a jerk of a client, And so the appointments, it took her like maybe 3 minutes to check and correct me. But the appointments were going minimum 20 minutes, sometimes up to an hour of like this interrogation, me trying to like, I don't know, like demonstrate my superior intellect and make her look like a fool. I was like so arrogant. It's like a real self-reflection moment when I think back at what kind of guy I was. But ultimately, as a chiropractor, she's highly trained to detect and correct subluxation. As a philosopher, I was highly trained to detect errors in reason or logical inconsistencies uh, and contradictions. And man, I came up empty. Like she was so calm, so collected, so grounded in the principles. Her understanding was so solid that like I didn't break her. She broke me. Like I got to the point, like I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be a chiropractor. I'm gonna quit my job. And that was, and it's important that I want to get that across. Like, she didn't show me all these evidence-based studies. She didn't like spizz me up with all sorts of the power made the body heals the body, but she just appealed to my sense of reason, showed me these irrefutable principles, universal principles, biological principles that are like irrefutable. And that's what convinced me. That's all it took. And of course, she had to drive it through my thick, arrogant head at the time. But that's how I got into chiropractic. I'm so glad I hurt my back, and I'm so glad I went to that chiropractor because I could have went to someone who was interested in all sorts of things except subluxation correction. But I'm still thankful to this day that woman changed my life.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training. Let's hustle. Wow. I got like hair on my arm standing up from the story. And I have to say, when I hear a story like that, people that watch our show, they know that chiropractic is a triune. It's science, philosophy, and art. And I really believe that business is the missing component in there. And if people have a good fundamental in business, then they have a better chance of being a good chiropractor or a successful, financially successful chiropractor. And I think you figured that out along this journey with having a philosophical foundation. So coming into chiropractic with a philosophical foundation, then you go in and understand the art and the fundamentals and then the anatomy and the science parts of it, which I think you had the biology too. And then now we come into business. And the reason I'm wearing this shirt right here, it says Topcairo, is because that's the next chapter in your life. You said, I'm going to take what I learned, take my toolkit, reverse engineer everything that anyone's ever told me, and I'm going to start something. And I believe that you started something that mattered. And that was a movement over in the Netherlands with Topcairo. So talk to us a little bit about business and how have you grown your one to many, and what is that taken? What is it taken for you to do that?
A lot of failure and a lot of lost money and a lot of risk that so I see a lot of people in business that they're so afraid to fail. They never want to take risk, and and they get nowhere except getting they get really good at blaming other people for their why they're not successful. But for me, I guess a lot of failure is how I got where I am. But despite all that, it never kept me down or out because there was this enormous like vision. And you hear the BJ's big idea. I got that early on. I understood that. And I like to surround myself with people who understand the same thing, that they understand what the implications and the consequences for the world would be if chiropractic was widely accepted. So all I could think is like, how do I deliver as much chiropractic care to the market as possible? And along that way, having zero business experience or knowledge, there was a lot of fumbling and a lot of like hard knocks kind of learning. Like most of the learning that you're very familiar with. You're a hustler, man. You've put your feet to the ground relentlessly. I did the same thing, man, and I just lived in like unbelievable situations where, I mean, yeah. I think back, but it was all worth it. You know, I never lost sight of where I was going, what I wanted to do. Everything I do is grounded in one thing. How do I get more chiropractic out there? That's why I founded the chiropractic school here in the Netherlands. That's why I want to continue scaling the business. That's why I wrote this book. I just want chiropractic everywhere. Chiropractic for me is the greatest expression of what the liberal arts are. Like I preach it all the time. In those books, it's really just those first 3 liberal arts. And you know what? I bet all your chiropractic listeners, I hope they appreciate this. The 7 classical liberal arts, the first 3 deal with the quality of mind, and the remaining 4 deal with like the quantity of the environment. So like real, like matter, material. So the first 3 deal with the mind, immaterial, right? And it goes in that order: above, down, inside out. The mind first, then the body, mind and body. Where have we heard this before? You know, chiropractic defines life as the expression of intelligence, non-material, in matter, material. And the 7 classical liberal arts are quality of mind, the trivium, the first 3, and then the quadrivium, quantity of the environment or matter that the mind is expressed in. And that's why I propose that chiropractic is in fact like should be considered the 8th liberal art, because it is like the amalgam or synthesis of the trivium and the quadrivium, of mind and matter, of intelligence expressed in matter. And chiropractic, again, it's such a beautiful expression of everything I treasure and value.
And maybe you could explain to us some of the ways that you take care of yourself, like physically, diet, nutrition. How do you stay fit and active?
Well, I'm almost 50, so I'm getting a little more serious about it, I would say. But what I do, I do fitness nearly every day. Although for the first time in like 3 years, when I was back there when I just saw a gym actually in Vegas, that was like a big breakaway for me, like from not doing regular fitness. But I normally, if I'm not with my family, which when I am with my family, it's like the worst version of myself. I don't say that as in any disrespect to them. It's just when you're around mom and she's taking care of you, like you're a spoiled baby again, and like everything fell off the wagon, you know. But now I'm back and back on track. I sport every day. I enjoy bouldering. I try to eat as much whole food as possible. So like, I don't cook that much. I love fruits. I love raw fruit. I try to do that as much as possible. I drink distilled, filtered, structured water, and I do drink coffee, although I know I shouldn't. But I love it so much. Me and Jim were just talking about that. He's now drinking like something that came out of a wood chipper, like sawdust, like boiling water and sawdust. I don't know what the hell that is.
I have a prop.
I do regular hot baths and cold showers, and
So how frequently are you getting checked and adjusted?
I get checked and corrected when necessary. Probably it's pretty regular. It's like twice a month or every 2 weeks.
That's cool, man. I think it's important for people to be checked and corrected. I that's why the show exists, because I want everybody to understand that once they get the big idea, all else follows. And that starts with, like you said, we can't get in somebody's face 6 inches away and tell them, come to the chiropractor. But we can have the cultural conversation with them about why their nervous system functions better when their immune system is functioning better and their organ system's functioning better. And by the way, it takes care of some headaches. And if you happen to get into a situation where you have a low back pain, it could help with that too.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to be very measured on how we connect and communicate with people. And that takes me to my next question. What are you doing for your chiropractic group to actually make an impact in the local communities? And what are the most effective routes you do that with?
Oh man, for us, like each individual, for me, now that I'm no longer in that position, like it's my office, and it's more like now it's 9 offices, that it's more interaction with the office owners or the chiros in the office. So I reach out to them, and what they do is some of them do like monthly events, like they've learned from Black Diamond Club. They do health talks and football clubs. I do climbing, so I do communicate. We've got quite a few clients from that. Other than that, they all have their own like Facebook groups, like a group for healthy living that doesn't, it's not even associated with Topcairo. Of course, it's run by Topcairo administrators. So in each city where we have an office, you'll find like, yeah, I can say it in Dutch, but gezond bewust Eindhoven. So consciously healthy Eindhoven. I guess that's the best translation. And then there's like a consciously healthy Den Bosch, consciously healthy Veldhoven. And so they're constantly engaging with the community there and other businesses and people that do related services to health for kind of like a health co-op, I would say.
I just want to come tour your practices.
You know, you got an open invite here all the time, bro.
So how do you see the future of chiropractic unfolding over the next 20 years or so?
Oh, damn, Luke, that's a good question. Well, yeah, I'm certainly not Nostradamus, but I can tell you, I can't say with any certainty what it's going to be in 20 years, but I can tell you with certainty what my plan is for the next 10 years in the Netherlands. Now that we've opened the school here and we start our first graduates will be done, and they actually just finished their first round of midterms and they all passed just this past week. But in 10 years, once we've got about 5 classes graduated of all Dutch chiropractors, because right now all these chiropractors come to the Netherlands from all these crazy schools teaching basically physical therapy. So how I see chiropractic in 10 years in the Netherlands is, if I have my way, it's going to be a chiropractic paradise, because eventually all the physiopractors or chiro therapists, they'll fade away, and that like my graduates will eventually dominate the market.
Love it.
So it's going to be, so in my, like everything I'm working on, why I coach them, why I'm in the IFCO, why I wrote this book, why I'm trying to scale out Topcairo, is because I want chiropractic delivered in the correct way. And like I'm doing everything I can to shift the entire market in the Netherlands. So in 10 years, Netherlands should be a chiropractic paradise, or on the precipice of becoming such.
And I'm curious, who have been some of your heroes or people who've inspired you to become the version of yourself that you are today? And they don't have to be chiropractors or anything like that.
Well, besides Jim Chester and Luke Millett, I would say definitely, and it doesn't have to be a chiro, but I would say Reggie Gold and Joe Strauss. I like Reggie Gold because he's an incredible communicator, storyteller. He captures people's attention with the way he tells a story. And then Joe Strauss with his like clear and distinct logic and critical thinking, and the way he presents chiropractic and the paradigms of chiropractic, just yeah, unbelievable. Great. And I would say also, yeah, David Koch, man, I don't know if I have that book here actually. Yeah, this book, so profound for chiropractors, man. This book, dude, so good.
For our listeners who can't see the video, what is it called? Contemporary
Chiropractic Philosophy, an Introduction, a reformulation of the 33 principles and the normal complete cycle, by David B. Koch.
Fantastic.
I'll have to get that.
Oh, you'll love it, man. It was something that the 33 principles desperately needed, man. All he did was just reorder them into like, first the universal principles, then the biological principles, and then the last three are the chiropractic principles, which is funny because we always call it the 33 principles of chiropractic, but really there's only three. The rest, like these are principles that every physicist and biologist would agree to. It's not. And I think if we maybe pushed it that way more, like these 33 principles, that it might like enter more of the mainstream, say, because no one would disagree with those universal principles.
No, I mean, you're finding fundamental truth.
Yeah.
And that's something that people are lacking right now. And they're looking to like around every corner. And, the people are searching every Google search that they're doing, every, chance that they get, they're looking for an answer to something, whether it's something, somewhere to go, something to do, something to buy. They're searching for everything.
Yeah.
And we just had to figure out how to reverse engineer this and get them, like you said, from the beginning of this interview, how to think objectively without telling them that this is what we do and why we do it. But wouldn't it make sense if we just followed life's laws and followed these 30 principles? And then we can teach you the last three when you're curious enough to know about them.
Yeah.
I like think that's
when you said if we just followed the laws, like everyone's more concerned about following the rules of man instead of the laws of nature, right? The laws of nature, like it has zero prejudice. It does not discriminate. It does not, like everything we want the government to do for us, which it will always fail. Those are rules, and they're constantly shifting and changing. Like, hey, wear your seatbelt, don't wear your seatbelt. Here, this much of a fine. Here's the speed limit, whatever. Like the rules they're not laws. Of course, they trick us and they call them laws, but true laws are immutable, right? And those come from nature. So, and when you violate those laws, there is punishment, and it may not come immediately, but you're always paying the price when you violate nature's laws, which I do when I'm like neglecting my health and doing things that I know better. Like maybe I should be drinking that tea from the wood chipper that Jim's doing for his liver or whatever, and maybe not enjoy as many beers as I do. But, I pay the price. I have to take responsibility when I violate the laws of nature.
And as we start to get to the edge of our interview together, maybe you could share with us a powerful story of a miracle case that you've seen in your office.
Oh man, I hope you guys don't get mad at me for this answer. I have never ever like seen a chiropractic miracle or heard of such a thing. Not even hard. I mean, like, here's what happens: you restore you remove the interference for the mental impulse, restore neurological or integrity, people get better. Now, it appears to be a miracle to those clients and it's in their lives. And like, my God, it certainly, it appears to be a miracle, right? That's because they don't understand or can't explain it. But when I know, like, man, the innate intelligence and what it can do with those 5 signs of life: assimilation, elimination, reproduction, growth, adaptation, that is not a miracle. That is what I expect. D.D. Palmer did not create a miracle with Harvey Lillard. He set out an intention. If I take the pressure off the nerve, I expect function to be restored. So I've never seen or heard of a miracle in chiropractic. What I see is consistent, logical results that conform to reason. However, I do get from the perspective of the client that when you've been suffering for 20 years and someone restores your life, that has the feeling and the appearance and all the profundity of a miracle.
Okay, I'll play the game. Through the eyes of your patients, who would you say had the largest quote unquote miracle story or the most impactful care that you've provided?
I would say, I don't want to give his name, but it was a client we had.
Of course not, right.
And this is always tough, man, in chiropractic when someone says, I can't afford it, and the guy, but you give it away for free, that means you don't value your own care. But we had a gentleman that he was on his like last. He gave us his last dollar, and I'm gonna be honest, it was tough to take. But I knew it would be a disservice to like pity him That wouldn't have empowered him one bit, right? Anyway, his knees better, his low back's better, his digestion's better. Like, it was just 100% transformation for this guy. But it wasn't just a physical transformation. He was back to work. He got a promotion. He's making more money. He just bought a house. Like, and this guy is committed to Topcairo. Hell or high water, he doesn't miss his appointments. And he's now been a client for, I don't know, 5-6 years. But those first like 4 months for him were profound, man. His whole life just like 180'd.
That's
And
probably the best dollar he's ever spent.
Yeah, he's had some dips and stuff, but they don't keep him down. I mean, the confidence in the results from previously, he knows what he's capable of. He knows that, just got to restore the mental impulse.
Fantastic. And the website is restoringreason.com if people want to get the book. Does Topcairo have a website people can check out?
Yeah, topcairo.nl.
.nl.
So any young chiropractors out there looking to have some fun in Europe and join a great team, Jim knows. Jim, you've met quite a few people on our team, but it's very philosophically oriented. We just do check and correct only. We don't do therapies and all that stuff. And the best part is we also don't deal with Medicare, Medicaid. Everything's all cash. So it's very different. Very different than the U.S.
Well, Dr. Travis, thank you so much for being our guest today. It's always fun reconnecting with old friends.
Thanks for playing along, Luke, with my miracle game.
And I'll just close out by saying chiropractors historically have always given away the adjustment. What they pay for is the 7 years of schooling and the ability to detect and to correct. The adjustment's always free. You just got to pay for the person that knows how to do that adjustment.
Yeah, you pay for the correction. Innate intelligence does the adjustment, right?
Well, Travis, love and appreciate you, man. You're episode 351 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We do protect free speech and chiropractic, and we do protect the sacred trust, and we support subluxation-based chiropractors and innate intelligence and universal intelligence, because when a person gets adjusted, it connects man, the spiritual, to man, the physical. And that's when people expect miracles. So with that, in closing, have a good night over there in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. And co-host Luke, have yourself a good night out there in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I'll say farewell tonight out here in Grand Junction, Colorado.
See you, Travis.
See you guys. Appreciate you both.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.